Hello, it's your favorite sports thunk here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the fastest growing community on YouTube. So please subscribe or you're going to make Ocho.
Tell the truth.
Just saying it's a crazy time. You can't afford not to like black people. You don't like black people enough, you could become one yourself. I'm not the only black man with a bunch of mugshots.
3 days. That's all it took for Shannon Sharpe to go from the brink of a $100 million payday to unemployed, humiliated, and paying millions to a woman who just quit her job the day after cashing in. And here's the wild part. He was warned this would happen. Not behind closed doors, not in private, but on camera in front of millions. And now, the man who gave that warning is calling him out, saying, "You brought this on yourself." The setup. Just a few weeks ago, Shannon Sharpe was untouchable. Hall of Fame tight end, beloved TV personality, and the man behind one of the fastest growing sports media empires in the game. He had ESPN backing him, his Club Shay Shay podcast pulling A-list guests, and multiple shows building him into a one-man brand. On top of that, he was in talks for a massive deal. We're talking a jaw-dropping $100 million package that would have locked in his future and cemented him as a sports media mogul. The deal would have bundled all his content under one umbrella. Club Shay Shay, Nightcap with Chad Johnson, Club 520, The Bubba Dub Show, everything. It wasn't just a contract, it was a legacy move. Shannon was about to join the ranks of the biggest podcasting and sports media deals in history. But here's the thing about being on top. One wrong move can send you plummeting faster than you ever climbed. And for Shannon, that wrong move was already in motion. He just didn't know the countdown had started. The lawsuit settlement. It all came crashing down on April 21st when a bombshell lawsuit hit the headlines. The plaintiff? A 19-year-old OnlyFans model named Gabriella Zuniga. The allegations? Ugly enough to make ESPN's lawyers sweat. And before Shannon could even blink, his camp decided to settle. Quietly, behind the scenes. Or so they thought. But here's where it gets messy. The settlement wasn't just some token payout to make her go away. Sources say Shannon agreed to fork over millions. We're talking enough to make someone retire before they even hit their 20s. And wouldn't you know it? Less than 24 hours after the ink dried, Gabriella took to Instagram to announce she was retiring from OnlyFans. Retiring at 19, with a heartfelt caption thanking her supporters, talking about new projects in the works. Translation: she just secured generational wealth from a man old enough to be her dad. And this is the same man who once went on record saying he wouldn't spend more than $30,000 on his daughter's wedding. You can already guess what the internet did with that little piece of hypocrisy. But hold up, it gets even worse, because this lawsuit wasn't the start of Shannon's problems. According to people close to the situation, some folks have been warning him for months that this exact setup was coming. ESPN cuts ties. If the lawsuit was the first punch, ESPN's move was the knockout blow. Just days after the settlement news broke, Shannon got the call no one in media wants. ESPN was done with him. No, we'll review things after the dust settles. No, let's work this out behind closed doors. Just a clean break? Fired? Cut? Gone? And here's the coldest part. ESPN didn't even bother to issue some heartfelt corporate statement about valuing his contributions or wishing him well. Nope. They went radio silent. When People magazine reached out for comment, ESPN basically said, "Yeah, no thanks." That's it. Like they were erasing him from the roster in real time. For Shannon, the timing couldn't have been worse. Not only was his name being dragged across every gossip blog and sports page in the country, but his firing landed just days before his older brother, Sterling Sharpe, was being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Shannon even admitted he begged ESPN to wait until after the ceremony to make the announcement, just so Sterling's moment wouldn't get overshadowed. But Disney and ESPN didn't care. They pulled the trigger anyway. And guess what the headlines were about that weekend? Not Sterling's historic achievement, but Shannon's downfall. And that's when another voice decided to speak up. The one man who says he saw all of this coming and tried to warn Shannon to his face. Katt Williams, I told you so. Enter Katt Williams, the man who's made a career out of roasting people so precisely, they don't even realize they're bleeding until they look down. And Katt didn't just predict Shannon's downfall. He practically read him the script months in advance on Shannon's own show in front of millions. It happened on Club Shay Shay. Katt leaned back in that chair, looked Shannon dead in the eye, and told him point blank, "Messing with white women in certain situations can end careers. Not might, Not maybe, will. He even dropped the Jonathan Majors example. The whole, you could be Kang the Conqueror and still get taken down in 2 weekends line. And the man wasn't joking. That wasn't just comedy. That was a warning, dressed in a punchline. And Shannon, he laughed it off. Smiled like he was in on the joke, not realizing the joke was sitting right in his lap, sipping champagne and scrolling through her OnlyFans subscriber list. Katt knew exactly what he was doing in that interview, planting the seed that if Shannon didn't wise up, the streets, the blogs, and the boardrooms were all gonna eat him alive. Fast forward, and here we are. Katt's looking like Nostradamus in a velvet blazer, and Shannon's looking like a man who ignored a flashing red warning sign the size of an ESPN billboard. And here's the kicker. Insiders say Katt wasn't speaking in general terms. He allegedly knew Shannon was already tangled up with Gabriella way before the lawsuit dropped, meaning this wasn't some vague, be careful out there PSA. It was a direct surgical strike, and Shannon still walked straight into the trap. At this point, Katt didn't even need to go on a full press tour to drag Shannon. All he had to do was sit back, sip his tea, and let the receipts do the talking. The streets are saying Katt's "I told you so" is one of the most brutal in Hollywood history. Not because it was mean, but because it was 100% accurate. The Gabriella factor. Here's the thing. Gabriella Zuniga didn't just fall out of the sky and land in Shannon's lap. She's been moving in influencer circles for a while, building her brand on social media with just the right mix of glamorous thirst traps and girl next door energy. And while she was cashing in on OnlyFans, she was also networking in ways that make this whole story feel less like chance and more like strategy. People online started digging, and it turns out Gabriella had been spotted at the same events, same parties, and even the same VIP sections as Shannon months before anyone knew her name. Some even claim she was dropping subtle hints in her posts. Cryptic captions, designer gifts, and photos from luxury trips that didn't quite add up with the average 19-year-old lifestyle. And when the lawsuit hit, that's when the internet detectives really went to work, connecting dots and building a timeline that made Shannon look less like a victim and more like a man who ignored every flashing red light. Some said she played the long game. Others said he was just another high-profile man, underestimating a woman who knew exactly what she wanted. Either way, Gabriella walked away with her bag secured and her name permanently linked to one of the most shocking career collapses in sports media. And for a lot of people watching, that's the part that stings the most. Because it didn't have to happen. Shannon's own words. When Shannon finally broke his silence, he didn't do it in some exclusive ESPN sit-down or primetime press conference. Nope. He went on his own Nightcap podcast and spent a good chunk of time talking about how the firing overshadowed his brother Sterling's Hall of Fame induction. And while that sounds noble on paper, let's be honest, that wasn't ESPN's fault. That was Shannon's mess spilling over into someone else's moment. He admitted he begged ESPN to hold off on announcing his firing until after the ceremony, but they said no. And here's where you can almost hear the world collectively saying, well, what did you expect? ESPN is a billion-dollar brand tied to Disney. The minute you become a headline for the wrong reason, they're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves. Shannon tried to soften it with gratitude, thanking his fans, saying he enjoyed his time at ESPN, and claiming he was at peace with the decision. But let's keep it real. You don't drop millions in a lawsuit settlement, lose your job, tank a $100 million deal, and suddenly become at peace. That's not Zen. That's damage control. And the whole, "I'm sorry to my brother for overshadowing his big moment" line. Sure, it sounds heartfelt, but Sterling didn't lose his moment because of bad luck. He lost it because his little brother was making tabloid headlines over an OnlyFans entanglement that could have been avoided entirely. That's not tragedy. That's self-inflicted. The lost opportunities. Imagine standing on the edge of the biggest win of your life. Contracts drawn up, champagne on ice, cameras ready to roll, a $100 million deal waiting for your signature. The kind of deal that doesn't just change your life, it rewrites your legacy. That was Shannon Sharpe in April. He was about to become the undisputed king of sports media, a one-man content empire with every show, every podcast, every brand extension under his control. Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Club 520, The Bubba Dub Show, all bundled into one mega package that would have turned him into a podcasting mogul overnight. This wasn't a paycheck. It was generational power. But then, 3 days. That's all it took for the dream to collapse. One lawsuit, one settlement, one PR nightmare that spread like wildfire through every corner of the sports and entertainment world. And just like that, the deal was dead. Not postponed, not renegotiated, dead. And here's the cruel part. It wasn't just ESPN that cut him loose. Once Disney turned the lights out, the entire umbrella went dark. ABC? Gone. Hulu? Gone. Any chance of working with major network affiliates? Gone. The calls stopped coming. The meetings disappeared. Overnight, Shannon went from being courted as a top-tier media partner to being treated like a PR hazard nobody wanted to touch. It's the kind of fall Hollywood writers dream about. The rise, the glory, the one bad choice that unravels everything. And in Shannon's case, it wasn't a slow fade into irrelevance. It was the sound of a trapdoor slamming shut. What this means, at the end of the day, this isn't some mysterious tragedy. This isn't the universe being unfair. This is what happens when you build an empire and then hand the keys to someone who doesn't care about your name, your career, or your legacy. Shannon Sharpe didn't just lose his job. He lost the one thing you can't buy back: credibility. Every network exec now sees the same headline burned into their minds: fired after multi-million-dollar settlement with 19-year-old model. That's not a bad week. That's a permanent stain. And the brutal truth? The streets will forgive you before corporate America ever will. Sponsors have memories like elephants. Disney has memories like the Library of Congress. And while Shannon might try to spin it, to play the lessons learned card, the damage is already done. The moment Gabriella posted that retirement announcement, she didn't just end her career. She ended his future. Katt Williams tried to tell him. Monique tried to tell him. Hell, common sense tried to tell him. But Shannon thought he was untouchable. Turns out he was just touchable enough. So here we are, one of the most charismatic voices in sports media. A man who spent years building a brand on confidence, quick wit, and that wisdom, taken down by the very type of scandal he used to clown other people for. $100 million future gone, a Hall of Fame weekend overshadowed, and a lifetime of credibility traded for a relationship that the internet says was doomed from the jump. And the irony? This wasn't some unseen sucker punch. The warnings weren't subtle. They were delivered on camera by people who understood the game and knew how quickly it could turn on you. But instead of listening, Shannon laughed it off until the joke was on him. Now, he's left with the kind of reputation that sticks. ESPN's not coming back. The big network deals are gone. And no matter how many shows he tries to launch, the first line of his Wikipedia page will always bring people right back to this moment. That's the thing about a fall from grace. You don't just lose the crown, you lose the audience that once cheered for you. So what do you think? Did Shannon completely do this to himself, or did ESPN pull the trigger too fast? And if you were in his position, would you have taken the deal, kept the job, or walked away before it all blew up? Drop your thoughts below, because this story isn't just about Shannon Sharpe. It's a warning to anybody who thinks success makes you untouchable.